Has always been a pretty good seller in Italy. The Italians have always rated very highly its style and comfort and engineering and regarded it as a real status symbol. There's always been one major defect for this particular market, namely the absence of a diesel-powered version, a fact which Top Gear pointed out in its last report from the Turin show.
Once again, however, the Italian executives here say that if they had a diesel version of the Range Rover, they'd sell even more. Now, the British taxpayer poured an awful lot of money into BL in order to ensure that it survived. And the company since then have been telling us that they desperately need export markets if they're going to sustain their growth. From our experience here in Turin, we think they ought to listen much harder to the people at the sharp end of those export markets.
Well, it could be that someone from Solihull was listening to that report, because now the Italians have got exactly what they wanted, a Range Rover powered by an Italian diesel engine. And Chris Goffey took it out into the hillsides around Turin.
So here it is, the long-awaited diesel version of the Range Rover. When you consider that this engine unit is substantially the same one that was fitted 4 years ago to the Rover 2400 SD, it's difficult to understand Range Rover's claim that they spent 2 years developing this unit specially for their vehicle. That said, let's see what they've done under the bonnet. Well, the most obvious difference is this great lump of a diesel engine. As you can see, 4 separate cylinder heads on top of the cast-iron 2400cc Italian VM unit. The key to the whole installation is the turbocharger, just here, and also the intercooler that is built into a substantially bigger radiator than the petrol engine version. And apart from 2 batteries to support the greater demand of a diesel engine on cold starting, the rest of it is pretty much standard Range Rover. Initial impressions of the diesel Range Rover on the road are on the whole very favourable. The engineers have succeeded in insulating the diesel engine from the rest of the body, and there really are no vibrations coming through. They've used rubber, for instance, on the exhaust system. They've used rubber to mount the air cleaners, and it all adds up to the image of the Range Rover as a smooth, sophisticated vehicle. Unfortunately, that really isn't the end of the story. There's no greater enthusiast for the Range Rover than myself. I, in fact, own a ratty old 1978 S registration example, and I'm delighted with it. Now, what my car has that this car doesn't have is immediate, ample, available power in all situations. Now, this is exactly what I'm talking about. We've just moved away, admittedly on quite a steep main road, but it's not that bad a gradient. I've changed into second, I've got my foot flat on the floor, and we're not going anywhere. I've got to come back down into first. And again, foot flat on the floor, you can hear the turbocharger whine as it increases and builds, and suddenly we've got power, there. I come into second gear, the turbocharger falls away, my foot's flat on the floor again, and the Range Rover just isn't going. And off the road, things don't get a lot better. Now, this is not a rough track, and it's not even that steep uphill. In a normal Range Rover, I'd be romping up here in second gear. Instead, I'm in first, and I'm concentrating on keeping my revs up and keeping the turbocharger supplying power to the wheels. Of course, what I'm not doing is concentrating as much as I should on where my wheels are on the road, what sort of path I'm going to take round the bumps and the boulders, and what sort of risks I can take going over blind crests. And that's not the situation you want to be in cross-country. I really am very sad to be criticising one of my favourite vehicles. You can't argue with the formidable reputation the Range Rover has built up over many years all over the world. It's got sophistication, image, unmatched comfort and cross-country ability. So why have they chosen to give it a 2.4-litre turbocharged Italian diesel engine? The appeal of the Range Rover is also in its towing ability. Now, people use it to tow boats up slipways and horse boxes out of fields. And one thing they never worry about is power. A diesel Range Rover can be done. I've driven a privately converted example with a Peugeot diesel that seemed fine. But with this vehicle, I'm afraid Land Rover have got it very wrong. So to sum up, the diesel Range Rover is powered by an Italian turbocharged diesel of 2,393 cc's. It does 0 to 60 in 18.1 seconds. The maximum speed is a claimed 90 miles an hour. The average fuel consumption 30 miles to the gallon. The towing capacity 4 tonnes. The insurance Group 6, and the price £18,109.